of wastewater management. We do a lot of work with the utility community to really kind of promote what I would like to call sustainable planning and practices across a full spectrum of utility activities. And like many in the sector, we have become heavily involved in really water workforce efforts because as everybody on this webinar knows, that is one of the most daunting challenges certainly facing the water sector, and particularly utilities, as we speak today. And so it's really an important topic. We are delighted to be hosting this, but Heather, maybe you could switch over to the next slide. I wanted to say something about that. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the opening poll. Excuse me. Go one more slide, Heather, and then we'll come back. No, the one that had the actual names of the speakers. There we go. Thank you. The slide in front of you really kind of, as I was saying a few minutes ago to our other panelists, this kind of, says what I want to say about this. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank the team from the Hampton Roads Sanitation District for really presenting today. We first encountered this really fine team at the Water Workforce Transformative Issues Symposium hosted by the Water Environment Federation and American Water Works Association back in August. And when we saw the presentation, I said to my folks, boy, we've got to do a webinar on this. And so this is the first of a series of water workforce webinars that we expect to be able to host over the next year. On a variety of topics related to water workforce. Accompanying the webinars will also be a set of case studies about what different utilities are doing that will be done over roughly the same period of time. So two things that we're basically taking the lead on. As you look at this slide, I want to just bring a couple of things to your attention. If you look at the bottom, you'll see the logos of really all of the partnering organizations. So I certainly want to give a shout out to all of the people down at the bottom, in addition to EPA, that have contributed to this whole effort, have been working with us from the beginning, and are really very actively engaged in the whole water workforce arena. The second thing I want to point out is what looks like a lot of speakers here, and that's by design. As you'll find out in a few minutes, not everybody will speak the same amount of time, but I asked Paula Hogue from HRSD, really, if she would invite people from their intern program, which is what we're going to focus on a lot today, to be on the webinar, because we heard them speak briefly at the symposium back in August, and I just thought their stories were so useful. And so Paula was very kind in basically including them as part of the speakers for today's webinar. And I think what that tells me, and hopefully will tell you, is this is something that this utility in the southeast corner of the state of Virginia is really all in about, and is really working hard to develop partnerships with other educational or training institutions as a way of building the pipeline, if you will, through their intern program and through their apprentice program, recognizing, like we all do, that there is a huge, expected kind of bow wave, if you will, of retirements in the water sector, like many other sectors in the economy. And it really is really critical, I would say, for utilities to begin to think about other partners that can help them attract the kind of people they want in their organization. And then, just as importantly, and I think you'll find this out during the webinar, once you have those people, to make them happy there, to make them say, this was the right choice for me to come to this organization. I'm doing the kind of work I want to do. People appreciate me, and this is a place for a career. No, not just some place because I really had to have a job, a place for a career. And I think that's really important, an important message that I think will come through hopefully today. So as Heather said, we will do the presentations and then hopefully have a lively and engaging Q&A session. Be thinking about your questions and post those through the approach that Heather mentioned a few minutes ago. But just again, on behalf of EPA, I'd like to say thank you very much for folks on the line and certainly to our speakers. We're really looking forward to it. I think they're doing a fantastic job. The other thing that I forgot to mention that I probably ought to mention very briefly, although this is a fairly large utility, I think the approach that they're talking about is replicable and certainly scalable for organizations that may not be quite as large. I think you'll see that, and I think it's a relatively straightforward but certainly well thought through approach, and I commend them for that. So without further ado, let me, I guess we need to go to our first polling question, Heather. Here's an opening poll question, if you would. Would you just take a minute to answer the question there, and then we'll introduce our first speaker. Thank you very much. Let me know when we're ready to move on, Heather.
I think we're good. I'll close the poll now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Paula Hogue, who is the Director of Talent Management for the Hampton Roads Sanitation District in Virginia Beach. She'll talk to you a little bit about the kind of the scope and the area covered by their utility. But I got to tell you, Paula, I love your title, Director of Talent Management. You know, it's not HR Director, it's not, Director of Personnel. Nothing wrong with those titles. But Paula is the Director of Talent Management, which is a really important position in any utility, quite frankly. And I just want to thank you, Paula, for sort of leading the effort with the team to pull together the presentation today. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And I want to thank Jim for having all of us on this webinar today. And we'll be talking about some of HRSD's initiative on workforce development. So the next slide. So our main focus, as Jim talked about, will be about HRSD's 12-year partnership with the Hampton Roads Public Works Academy. I'm going to start off with HRSD's people strategy, how our organization is structured to support the strategy, and we will talk about two workforce initiatives that support our strategic plan. One is our apprenticeship program, and the other is our partnership with Hampton Roads Public Works Academy. We have provided over 85 internships through that partnership, and as this program has really grown over the years and has become a strategy for developing and recruiting our future workforce. Our program champion, Darissa Pitts-Page, is here with us today, along with Mike Chapman, who's been a program advocate and supervisor, and two former interns who are now highly successful and engaged employees, and they are here with us today. Our goal is to share four perspectives: the intern, the supervisor, HR, and the organization. And we're going to present the information in a variety of ways. Darissa will give a traditional presentation, and then Mike's going to give his thoughts as a supervisor, and then we'll have an interactive panel discussion with our former interns, and we'll hold all questions until the end. Next slide. Next slide. So just a little bit about HRSD. We are a regional wastewater organization created in 1940. Our service area covers a large part of southeastern Virginia, about the size of Delaware. We serve 18 cities and counties and a population of 1.7 million. Next slide. We are a political subdivision of Virginia with the governor-appointed commission. We have 9 major plants and 7 small plants treating 249 million gallons of wastewater per day. In addition to our treatment plants, our infrastructure includes 500 miles of pipe and more than 100 pump stations. Next slide. So HRSD's mission is to protect public health by treating wastewater effectively, and our vision is for future generations to inherit clean waterways with the ability to keep them clean. So today we're going to talk about people and careers and our initiatives for both our current and future workforce. We have 850 full-time employees working in 7 departments with many job types and career paths, and our average length of service is 13 years. Next slide. Next slide. So about our talent management department, we have 3 divisions: human resources, organizational development and training, and safety, and we have 1 business analyst. All of our efforts and activities are centered around our current and future employees and leaders. Next slide. So HRSD does have a strategic plan, and we have 5 focus areas in that plan: environment, infrastructure, operations, partnerships, and people. These are HRSD's strategic objectives for the focus area people. So HRSD's apprenticeship, which I'm going to talk about next, and our partnership with Hampton Roads Public Works Academy are just 2 examples of programs that support these objectives. Next slide. So here's how our Human Resources Department is structured, and it's really structured to serve the organization and employees' needs. Our division is responsible for many of the traditional HR functions, but is also organized to serve as a strategic business partner throughout the organization. Next slide. So this slide shows how our business partners serve as both subject matter experts in 2 to 3 areas or programs that are listed on the right of the screen, and also as partners with several assigned work centers to provide support in the areas listed on the left of the screen. So this allows each of our business partners to build a long-term and effective relationship with supervisors and employees in each work center, and to tailor their efforts around the needs of each work center. The manager, administrative staff, and business analysts all support the HR business partners in their roles. Next. So our organizational development and training division role is to provide employee development, training, and organizational planning. OD&T administers HRSD's apprenticeship program and also trains a network of employee facilitators recruited from across the organization. And these facilitators help with planning and with quality, interpersonal, and leadership skills training. Just a few examples of some of the training programs include team and problem solving, ethics, emotional intelligence, leadership, management, and coaching. Next slide. So our apprenticeship program, we just celebrated its 40th year and had 32 apprentices graduate this year. In total, the program has graduated over 400 apprentices. Over 30% of HRSD leaders are former apprentices. Our general manager likes to call it our secret sauce. So where apprenticeship programs are coming back into the forefront of workforce development, we've been able to sustain this program over 40 years, and it's really become an essential component of recruiting and developing our operations workforce. We receive calls up front almost every day. How do I get into your apprenticeship program? And the answer is you get hired into an apprenticeship position. So we are now focusing a lot of our efforts on the future to make improvements to the program so that it stays relevant, but we're also holding on to the elements that make it successful. Next slide. So how does the program work? A Apprentices are hired into apprenticeship trade positions. They sign up for either a 3 or 4 year completion option. They receive skills-based on-the-job training over the 3 or 4 years. While working their full-time job, they attend classes at night to complete 576 academic hours. Apprenticeship classes are taught by HRSD employees who are subject matter experts. In fact, 40% of our instructors were former apprentices. So this approach helps make the program sustainable. We have retrofitted shop classrooms for several classes like welding, pumping systems, valves, and piping. And we deliver our classes either in person, through distance learning, and through intensive day classes, or online. And certain trades receive their academic portion through an approved community college or vocational partner. And apprentices are reimbursed for mileage and textbooks. Next slide. So this is a list of our 7 trades. In the last 3 years, we've combined our electrical and instrumentation trades, and the trades with an asterisk receive the academic portion through the vocational school or community college. So that's about our apprenticeship program. So next we're going to move on to our partnership with Hampton Roads Public Works Academy. Next slide. And Darissa Pitts-Page is here with us today to provide the human resources and organizational perspective. Darissa really started and championed this partnership from the very beginning. She's a human resources business partner. She has 17 years of experience in organizational development and training, employee relations, recruiting, benefits, and diversity and inclusion. She holds a BA degree in broadcast journalism from Hampton University, a master's from Troy University in human resources management, and a master's in law from Regent University. She also has multiple senior human resources professional certifications. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Darissa.
Thank you, Paula. So think back to when you were a junior or a senior in high school, and some of y'all will have to dig deep in your memory bank for this one. You weren't sure if you wanted to go to college, could even afford to go to college. Maybe you want to go into the military or go straight to work after graduation. Do you think you would have had a better idea of what you wanted to do if you had the opportunity to do a paid internship, offering real-life work experience that could also lead to a career while still in high school? Since 2007, HRSD has successfully partnered with the Hampton Roads Public Works Academy, HRPWA, as a member organization to provide paid summer internships for high school students enrolled in HRPWA's cadet program. Next slide. So what exactly is the Hampton Roads Public Works Academy, or HRPWA? Next slide. They're a regional coalition promoting public works and public utility cooperative training in southeastern Virginia. So they're a nonprofit organization governed by a board consisting of employees from member organizations, and these member organizations are partnering local schools, high schools and colleges, local municipalities, and political subdivisions such as HRSD. Member organizations pay annual membership dues, and it's based on the number of employees, and it's anywhere from $500 to $2,000. HRPWA coordinates lower-cost training for current public works and utilities employees, and some examples of the lower-cost training provided is business writing, construction math, CPR, forklifts, backhoe, and excavation. They also lend each other tools, donate equipment for training purposes, and use each other's facilities. They also educate area high school students to develop pre-trained public works and utilities employees, and this is the HRPWA Cadet Program, which is a phenomenal recruitment tool that I will go into more detail on the next slide. Okay, I'm not done. But can you go back to the previous slide, please? Okay. And lastly, they provide networking opportunities to the member organizations. So the board, they meet monthly with the executive director to exchange information, brainstorm training topics, determine course curriculum, and discuss any training requirements. Next slide. So what exactly is the HRPWA cadet program? This is the best part, in my opinion, and what I'm really passionate about. They're a 2-year hands-on program geared towards high school students participating in vocational and technical center programs. So initially, when we started the cadet program, we only had one VOTEC school participating, which was the College and Career Academy at Pruden in Suffolk, Virginia. A couple of years later, we added New Horizons Career and Technical Education Center in Hampton, Virginia. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we expanded the program to include Virginia Beach Technical and Career Education Center in Virginia Beach. The selection process begins with an application, teacher recommendations, followed by interviews with HRPWA member organizations. And each school can accept 15 to 20 cadets per year, and the students are required to meet some basic criteria, which is having good attendance and maintaining their career and technical course average of C or better. The cadets are required to take 32 courses in major areas of work within public works and utilities, and they have to complete a paid summer internship with a member organization. And upon successful completion of the cadet program, students will receive their certificate, which among other benefits will make them more competitive for part-time or full-time positions within member organizations. And graduating cadets have the opportunity to receive a scholarship from the American Public Works Association, and this year that scholarship was $2,000. Recipients are selected based on academic achievement and community involvement, and HRSD has hired 3 HRPWA scholarship recipients as interns. Next slide. So as I stated, a paid summer internship with a partnering member organization is required for cadets to complete the program. So these cadets are interviewed and selected by a panel consisting of member organization employees. And once hired, these interns experience all aspects of employment, from filling out online applications to any pre-employment drug screenings, physicals, background checks. They also attend new employee orientation for the onboarding process. They attend mandatory safety training, and obviously they get that hands-on job training experience through the internship. Next slide. So this is an example of the cadet courses. These are classes that are taught by subject matter experts, SMEs, which are employees from the member organizations. I teach the You're Hired Now What and the Workforce Readiness classes, and these cadets are required to take 16 classes their first year and 16 classes their last year in the program. They take 2 classes per month. They also take field trips that rotate annually between HRSD's treatment plants and operation centers, as well as to other municipalities. Next slide. So this is an example of the work centers in which we've placed interns in over the years. And these students come from a variety of skilled trades to include non-traditional operations careers, such as cosmetology, dental assistant, criminal justice, legal studies, and public safety. Next slide. So what have been the challenges of hiring these high school interns? Not enough students applying to the cadet program. For the past 3 or 4 years, we've seen a decline in interest in applicants for the cadet program, and we're not really sure what those reasons are. Is it lack of knowledge about HRPWA, lack of knowledge or interest in our industry, or maybe the unwillingness to take on the additional course load? Competition for top talent. Member organizations conduct interviews for the interns as a group, so we all want the best and the brightest of the cadets. HRSD doesn't usually have that problem because all the cadets seem to want to come to HRSD to do their internship, probably because we pay the most, and we hire at least one full-time every year. One-year trades. So students that are enrolled in one-year trades will have to make the commitment to continue in the cadet program, whether that is in their senior year or after graduation, in order to finish their last year cadet courses. But we have had several interns come back and finish up. Poor attendance at VOTEC or cadet courses. Sometimes testing at their home school or other mandatory school obligations or projects in VOTEC or just excessive unscheduled school absences will make the student miss too many cadet courses, and therefore they're no longer allowed to continue into the program. So they don't all make it to the end. Unfavorable drug screen results. So although I make it clear early enough in the year prior to the internship that they will be subject to pre-employment drug screens for the internship, we unfortunately have had a few test positive. A lack of reliable transportation. So for some reason, teenagers aren't very motivated to get their license as soon as they can, my son included. Students without their own transportation have to rely on friends or family members to take them to a Monday through Friday, 40-hour-a-week job for 8 weeks. Age. These cadets range in age from 16 to 19, and there are certain jobs that they are not allowed to do until they turn 18. Many of the jobs in our industry are dangerous and have hazards that young workers should not be exposed to, and I'll talk a little bit more about this on the next slide. Generational differences. So this is the first time that we've had 4 generations in the workforce at the same time. So there's going to be difference of opinions, beliefs, values, and the way that work gets done. I usually tell the interns you will have coworkers that are your parents and your grandparents' age, but we will all have to work together to accomplish the organizational goals. Full engagement and support from supervisors. So initially, when we began hiring high school interns, some of our supervisors were not on board with taking on a teenager. So it definitely will require more of your time because it's supposed to be a learning opportunity. Interns will need to be able to ask questions and be trained. So again, you have to keep in mind that they are teenagers and some of their maturity level is not going to align with your current employees. So you have to have patience. But once our supervisors saw the tangible rewards, the success of the program, and the number of interns we've been able to hire full-time, some of them now want 2 or more each summer. Lack of work ethic. So I think I've heard there's a stereotype going around that millennials and Gen Z are somewhat lazy, entitled, and they should all get an award for participating. So we have to shift our mindset and be more open to see them as individuals. Many of these interns you will hire from VOTEC are exceptional. They have had to overcome huge challenges and grow up fast. And many of them are looking at this opportunity to help provide and support their families. So they will be some of your most productive employees with a different outlook on life. Next slide. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. These are the Virginia child labor laws, so it may vary in your state, so you may want to Google these. But these are just some of the examples of what minors under 18 cannot do as it relates to our organization. There's no restriction on the number of hours minors 16 to 17 can work. But you might want to look into if your organization has entered into a work training agreement managed by the coordinator at the school and certifies that the student learner is enrolled in a course of study and training in a CTE program. They may be able to do some of the things on this slide. Next slide. So how do we overcome these challenges? So now that you've got the interns, what do you do with them? Well, you want to provide meaningful work in the intern's trade. So when selecting high school interns, I try to match their trade with the work center that I assign them to for the summer. So matching the students with the work center where they can apply their trade from VOTEC helps keep their interest and gives them motivation to keep showing up every day. You want to make sure you provide them with a good understanding of what it's like to work in your industry, because the intern may decide that your line of work isn't right for him, or him or her, or alternatively actually decide to make a career of it. Recognize their hard work. So this year we celebrated all of our interns for National Intern Day on July 25th. We had a week-long celebration on our intranet site. We had pictures and quotes from the interns on what they've learned this summer. And we also had a small get-together with food, and some of the work centers took their students to lunch. On-site visits from student coordinators. So having the student coordinators come for a visit shows ongoing support for the interns, in addition to kind of keeps the employer honest to make sure that we are actually providing real-world opportunities for the students. Ensure supervisors provide continuous feedback. So interns will have demonstrated some strengths and some opportunities for improvement. So it helps them grow by providing kind but candid performance feedback, because in some cases, this is the most valuable thing an intern takes away from the experience. Conduct end-of-program intern and supervisory evaluations. So end-of-program evaluation gives both HRSD, HRPWA, and the partnering schools feedback on what we are doing well and what we can be doing differently. Measure and report success. So measure and report your quantifiable success. Shout your success from the mountaintop. So this is your best and cheapest recruitment tool. Next slide. So what are the benefits of hiring high school interns? It's definitely a sustainable solution for recruitment and workforce development. High school internships are a win-win for both employers and students. For students, work experience is the key to ensure they make a good career decision and build their professional network. By employing students, organizations get exposure to talent early in their career. It's the ability to test drive new talent. New employees bring unique perspectives, fresh ideas, and specialized strengths and skill sets. It creates a diverse pipeline for future employees. It provides short-term support to business operations. So I don't know about any of you, but I enjoy work-life balance. So having interns and those extra set of hands to help your employees with, if they have a heavy workload, take some of that off their hands, and, that's going to help increase employee satisfaction, productivity, and it may free them up to accomplish more creative tasks, or they can work on tasks that require high-level expertise. Fosters leadership skills in current employees. So if you have high performers that are interested in leadership, what better way to get them that experience by having them supervise interns? It develops mentoring capacity. So I never thought I'd become anyone's mentor. I don't even like kids except my own. But it has been truly rewarding being able to recognize potential in these interns that they did not see in themselves. I truly believe in pulling people up whenever you can. So they know that they can come to me anytime for support and guidance and advice, both personally and professionally. And it's been awesome to watch them grow in their career, buy houses, get married, and start families. And I'm so proud of each and every one of them. And I finally have been able to get some of them to stop calling me Miss Durissa. It builds community relationships, which are mutually beneficial. So the organization achieves visibility, and it also creates trust. Next slide. So what are some of the proactive ways that we can attract future generations to our industry? So besides partnering with VOTEC schools, there are numerous CTE programs and academies in the local public schools that we can tap into for talent in a variety of career fields that support operations. So the City of Virginia Beach has several academies in their high schools, which is a very competitive application process. And some examples of those academies are the Advanced Technology Center, which is located at Tidewater Community College, where they have digital design, web design, cybersecurity. They have a STEM Academy, Math and Science, Environmental Studies Program, Health Sciences, Entrepreneurship, and Business Academy. And many of these students are graduating with industry credentials. Students that are pursuing the dual enrollment path are graduating with associate's degrees. Cross-training in other areas of HRSD, such as in our engineering, water quality, and finance departments, that's something that we started to do this year with our interns in order to get them exposure to more aspects of our business and to see if anything else piques their interest. It is somewhat difficult because the internship is only 8 weeks. However, depending on how well the intern does while we have them, and if there's money in the work center's budget, we can extend their internship and have them work in a part-time capacity. Get parents involved. So sometimes we end up recruiting parents once they see the pay and benefits and the rewarding career opportunities. I've done presentations on HRPWA and the internship opportunity on parent-student nights at the school. And once we get parents engaged, they heavily promote the opportunity to their kids, and they are more likely to apply for the cadet program and complete it. Actively stay recruiting. I am a walking billboard for HRSD everywhere I go. Community outreach is another important component of creating a pipeline of talent. So take advantage of opportunities to put a face to your organization and inform the public about what you do and the career opportunities available. Help shape public school curriculum. I've served on the CTE Advisory Board and Suffolk Public Schools Advisory Boards for years. Local employers partner with the school to help shape curriculum and voice what employers need from graduates in order for them to be prepared to enter the workforce. We meet on a quarterly basis to share information specifically on CTE and public schools as a whole, and we annually meet with the school superintendent. We've talked about creating an HRSD pre-apprenticeship program, so partnering with local schools to offer a pre-apprenticeship program to high school students. And then just continued support from your leadership. Just make sure you keep ROI in front of your leadership so they are able to see the benefits of your initiatives and continue to buy into your efforts. Next slide. So this partnership has been extremely successful for HRSD. So as Paula mentioned, that since 2007, we've hired 85 HRPWA cadets as interns, and over 98% of those have successfully completed internships. 11 have returned for a second summer, 6 have been hired part-time, 17 have been hired full-time, 9 have been promoted, 5 have utilized our continuing education benefits, and some of the degrees they have pursued have been in civil engineering, electronics technology, instrumentation, and computer science. And we've had 8 interns hired into apprenticeship positions. So as you can see, I mean, we've had 21% of these interns hired full-time. Okay, next slide. And these are all of the positions in which we have been able to fill full-time through HRPWA internship program. Next slide. So HRSD has received local and national awards for our successful internship program. And next slide. And HRSD, and especially me, will continue to passionately support and engage in providing high school internships because we truly believe that investing in interns is a proactive way to address gaps in the water workforce and to leverage opportunities to ensure HRSD's future success in alignment with our vision. Future generations will inherit clean waterways and be able to keep them clean. Thank you.
Okay, this is Paula again. And next, we have Mike Chapman, and he's going to share his experiences with the internship program as a supervisor. Michael is a plant manager with over 30 years of experience in the wastewater treatment industry. He spent most of those years at HRSD training in the areas of supervisory skills, conflict management, leadership development, and emotional intelligence. He holds a Class 1 wastewater license and a master's certificate in human resources management from Villanova. He's a certified paralegal and is currently seeking a degree as a human resource specialist from Bryant and Stratton College. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Hello, everyone.
Next slide.
Hello, everyone. So it starts with onboarding. And so as we welcome these young people into our environment, acceptance and inclusion is very important. So this is one area that I always make sure that I am there on that day. This isn't something that I want to delegate because I really enjoy doing it myself. And so what I do is I take these interns, and this year we had 3. I have them in my office or I have them in the conference room. And what I start with doing is asking them questions about themselves, asking them about school, asking them about their trade, or any after-school activities that they might be interested in, things that they like to do. And so along with that, because we want them to be comfortable and we want them to feel at ease, because this certainly is not an interview. They've already gone through all the interviews, so we don't want to turn this into another interview. And so One of our 3 interns this year was a young man who, and he came into the room, shared with us that he had a size 13 shoes. And the reason I guess he mentioned it to us is because he didn't have his safety shoes yet because they didn't have his size in stock. And so it was just information that he shared. And so what I do is I bring in and introduce each supervisor, again, one at a time, so that we can continue to make them feel comfortable with how the process goes on. And so what I did is, as each supervisor came in, I added another inch to this young man's shoe size. And so by the last supervisor, his shoe size had grown to about a size 18. And so the interns and I, we chuckled about it and they laughed a little bit. And so you could see then that they were, helping them to relax a little bit with the process. And so along with that, we also give them the opportunity to ask questions that they might have about what their day-to-day activities are going to involve and what their work activities are going to look like. And so at that point, also, I bring in turn, each intern is assigned a buddy, which is someone that they can partner with and that will guide them through the day with their day-to-day activities and the things that they'll be involved with. Next slide. So the meaningful work. So the interns want to feel that they add value to the work center. And so for this reason, we avoid assigning them housekeeping work. We explain that housekeeping is an important part of maintaining the facility, but that's not what we want them for. So we try very hard to make sure that they're assigned work related to their trade whenever possible. And that's where they're there to gain job experience and to gain knowledge in those areas. So we spend time talking to them and using those conversations to leverage their strengths and their talents. I also ensure that the supervisors are spending time talking and interacting with them, making sure that they're okay and that their questions are being answered and that their experience is continuing to be a positive one. Next slide. Employee buy-in and engagement. So for us, this process is not an 8-week process once a year. It's an ongoing process. So we have meetings with staff to discuss our successes and what can be done better. Input from the buddies and discussions with who will be buddies in the following year. So we look at work schedules, we look at work projects to try to decide what jobs might work best for the interns. So when we get those resumes, there are more meetings on where these young people will be a best fit, who will be assigned as the buddies, and so who will fit the best with them for each individual intern. So once they arrive, they become part of the group, and they are included in all of the regular plant functions, including safety training, facility meetings, and social events. Next slide. Overcoming challenges. So as with most endeavors, there are challenges. Because of the interns' age and child labor laws, there can be restrictions on the things that they're allowed to do and the activities that they're allowed to participate in. So we certainly use that to make sure that we're monitoring what they're doing and that they're being kept safe. Because, of course, safety is job one. We certainly don't want any employee to be injured. And so we do train them and we do monitor them closely. We provide them with personal protective equipment that's needed, any gloves, as we mentioned, safety shoes, hard hats, and so they have the equipment to stay safe. We make sure that they stay that way. And as far as the intern enthusiasm, what I've found in most cases is that they are very enthusiastic. This is often their first job, but this is what they want to be doing. This is their first opportunity to really make some money and they have a tendency to be bubbling over, actually. And as far as the generational differences, initially I had some concerns because there can be some substantial gaps. Consider this. This summer, I had a 17-year-old intern, and I have a 66-year-old employee at the same facility working together. But there have been no issues, and I believe it's because we get staff involved in the success of the program from the beginning. So instead of them, kind of looking at these interns as someone who's going to interfere with their day-to-day activities and just kind of, interfere with their days, what they see instead is an opportunity to share their knowledge and experience with those interns. And that's and the interns, because they also want it as well. And what it does is it helps everyone to be successful. And so also this summer, one of our staff brought in a record player and a record to play on it. And needless to say, our interns had never seen either. So it was like a history lesson, and it was actually pretty funny as well. So we only have 8 weeks, so we want to make sure that the time that they spend with us is relevant, valuable, and that we're encouraging them to want more. So where it is true that there is a lack of job experience, again, in most cases, a lot of cases, this is their first job, but they usually make up for it with the energy and enthusiasm. So my experience has been that they show up for work on time, every day, and ready to work. Some of them, however, of course, don't have driver's licenses yet, but we have seen no negative impact on their getting to work. One young man that worked for us was brought to work and picked up for 2 years by his grandmother. So families also see the importance of this as well. Next slide. Supervisors' tools for success. So we want this to be one of the most positive experiences of their lives. And it starts with engagement, inclusion, value, and respect. We build on the successes of previous years and are always looking to improve. Preparation and planning is a part of most success stories, and we believe in both. We value their input, we treat them as equals, and we treat them with respect. We use their input and staff input to improve on the process. We encourage and welcome feedback, again, so we know that what is going well and perhaps what can be made better. And we wrap up the summer with a recognition and appreciation social event. Cake and ice cream and appreciation certificates for our interns. We have some conversations with them, their buddies and staff, to get a take on how the summer went for them. For one young man, it apparently went so well that he wanted to know if it was an option for him to not go back to school and stay and work for HRSD. It was a flattering offer, but it was not an option. Next slide. So benefits to the organization. So our productivity is definitely increased because we give them value-added work, whether it's preventative maintenance or helping a mechanic with corrective or repair work. We have experienced such a group of engaged and dedicated people. 2 of our previous interns returned for 2 years and then became full-time employees. We've seen such a diverse group come through, people with different backgrounds, different skills, different aspirations, and we try to put all of it to good use. There's a very positive impact on the community. This is the community we serve, and the interns take back with them and communicate their experience to families, friends, and fellow students. So hopefully more will apply the following year. I recently attended a conference where I learned that a considerable number of organizations over the next 5 years will lose 40 to 50% of their employees. Where will those new employees come from? For us, one of those sources has been and will continue to be our interns. Thank you.
So thank you, Michael. So we'll have the next slide. And now I'd like to introduce two employees who started their career as HRPWA interns. Anita was a cadet intern in the first year of HRSD's partnership. She was our first summer intern. She's now a day operator at the Army-based treatment plant with 12 years of experience in wastewater. She is a certified Class 1 operator and a graduate of HRSD's apprenticeship program. She's a licensed journey worker in the plant operator trade, a graduate of Kings Fork High School and Hampton Roads Public Works Academy cadet program in the PC technology trade. Through HRSD's continuing education program, she is currently pursuing an associate's degree in engineering technology at Tidewater Community College. We also have Keegan Ankowski with us today. Keegan is Chief Maintenance Management for HRSD's South Shore Interceptor Operations Division. He is also a graduate of Kings Fork High School and the HRPWA cadet program in the heavy utility construction trade. He joined HRSD as an intern through the program and has been promoted twice since hire. Through the continuing education program, Keegan just completed his bachelor's degree in civil engineering technology, and he's currently enrolled in the interceptor technician trade in our apprenticeship program. He was a member and coach of HRSD's Operations Challenge team and now serves as Virginia Water Environment Association Vice Chair of Operations Challenge. So I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask Keegan and Anita to get started, and then we're going to turn it over to the audience to ask questions for the remaining time. So I'm going to start with Keegan. So Keegan, how did you first hear about the cadet program, and what attracted you to say, yes, I want to take on being a cadet in addition to my homeschool and trade school workload? Remember that the cadets have to take additional 32 hours of classes. So Keegan.
Hey, Paula. So it's my senior year in high school when I was doing this trade program at the Prudence Center, and the program director was coming around doing a presentation for each class, and in each class she was presenting on this cadet program. The director, she pitched this great pitch, and then at the end she said that she wanted everybody to apply. They had to write an essay. So at that point it was a no from me because I absolutely hate writing essays. I'm a math person. So I went back to the classroom where my instructor at the time said, that's not an option. You'll definitely be writing that essay, and you'll be definitely getting into this cadet program. So at that point, I actually went forth with the application, and I'm glad I did because at the time, the idea I had in my head was I was just going to join the military because I come from a military family, and at the time, that was pretty much the right thing to do according to them. So I put forth the extra effort and went ahead and did the cadet courses and started my internship with HRSD, and I'm so glad I did.
So thank you. So Anita, tell us about your cadet experience as a whole, and then tell us what led you to select HRSD for your summer internship.
My cadet experience I thought was a good experience. I got to meet with different cities, different non-traditional jobs. I even gained my Flagger's license and was offered a Flagger's job during the summertime. But I ultimately chose HRSD. Two women that I seen there during the interviews were supervisors, so I looked at that as a chance that I could someday be a supervisor in a non-traditional work field that was mostly dominated by men. So I thought, hey, what better way to a woman taking over something else?
Okay, thank you. So Keegan, what knowledge and skills did you gain through the summer internship?
So during my internship in the collections department, I took the opportunity to learn as much as I possibly could about our HRSD's collection system and the different maintenance tasks that were involved with ensuring it operates efficiently. I took that knowledge that I learned along with the knowledge I learned at Old Dominion University through the help of HRSD with tuition assistance, and used that to basically work my way through the ranks, and it helped to build a solid work ethic being so young and working with some of the older guys that kind of wouldn't let you slack off. They made sure that you did what you needed to do to get the job done.
So, Anita, what was your favorite part of the internship and why?
My favorite part of the internship was making $11.92 at the age of 16. Most people don't make that now at minimum wage, so just coming in to making that kind of money, being so young, shopping mall, here I come.
So did you feel supported through the internship, and how?
I felt very supported. Even still now, I feel supported through Darissa, our public works mentor. She supported us tremendously, not just work-based, but personal issues. I know I went through a couple of personal issues to where I had to call and text her phone, and she kind of walked me through certain things, told me everything was going to be okay. So I was very supported, and that's the type of support you need when coming up through the program, not just work-related, but just emotionally and physically there.
So, Keegan, you just finished your degree in engineering. Now you're entering the apprenticeship program. So tell us, why are you doing that and about that?
So, like I mentioned before, I try to take every opportunity I can to learn everything there is to know about HRSD's collection system. So the fact that HRSD apprenticeship is taught by its most seasoned employees made it that much better. It's because I feel like the knowledge and wisdom that you get out of these employees is not something that you get out of a book. Like Mike mentioned earlier, 40 to 50% of the workforce in this field will be retiring within, 5 years. This is the stuff that we need to be putting on paper, the stuff that's deep down in these people's memory banks.
So, Anita, tell us about applying for your first full-time job at HRSD.
2008, I graduated, and I was promised by my mentor, Darissa, that if I brought her my high school diploma, she would give me a full-time job. I emailed her, I sent her a text, and I called, and I received my first full-time job, I think 2 weeks later, as a facility assistant. 6 months from then, I became a plant operator, to where now I am a day operator, which is basically in preparation to be a lead operator.
Okay. So, Keegan, if you could give advice to your cadet self, what would it be?
So basically, short and sweet, it would be to just kind of keep at it, pick that shovel up, don't complain, and it'll all pay off.
So this question is going to be for both Keegan and Anita. So did the internship help you overcome obstacles, and what were they, and how?
So I'll go first. So I don't think, without HRSD and without the internship that I was offered through HRSD, I don't think there's any way I would have gone to college. So really, I owe it to HRSD that I got my bachelor's degree, and I've worked to where I am in the position I am, because like I said before, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just going to join the military and figure it out. So I owe it to HRSD for that.
I overcome many obstacles just by being a teenage mom at the age of 15. HRSD just opened up so many doors for me. Stability. I was able to buy my first house at 18. Just being able to support my daughter, myself, and just through that alone, HRSD has supported me, like I said, again, just by having a stable job, supporting me with the fact that I was a single mother at the time. So overall, like Keegan said, I owe everything to HRSD and this internship, because without it, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Okay. So, Anita, how can we attract high school students to pursue water careers, sorry?
Just by basically what we're doing now through the internship, I think is a great way, and with the benefits, the job security. I just know a lot of my friends, don't get a 40-hour paycheck. Here, I've always gotten a 40-hour paycheck for 12 years now, so that job security and benefits is where it's at right now.
So, Keegan, tell us something you think we should all know about our future workforce.
So I think that you should believe in them to make the right decision. Most will need a little bit more guidance up front, but with the proper guidance, they'll use that and overcome many obstacles. This generation is a technology generation. They're brought up with technology in their hand from age 3 and on, pretty much, or maybe even younger. They'll pretty much resort to that technology to try and fix anything because, like a lot of people know, you can pretty much watch a YouTube video to figure out to do anything. And lastly, like I said before, just believe in them because a lot of folks have select things to say about future generation, but I promise you there's good ones out there.
Okay, so that's all the questions I have for them, and I can turn it over and we can forward maybe 2 slides for the questions. Heather?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Paula, this is Rob Greenwood. So we do have some questions that have come in. And what I'd like to do, Paula, I will direct the questions to you, and then please, you should feel free to then, move those questions around to other members of your team, if that sounds okay. So the first question that had come in related to the Public Works Academy, and I'm assuming here this is the Hampton Roads Public Works Academy that you described. And there's just an interest in finding out a little bit more about that Public Works Academy, what kind of certifications and licenses are offered, is it a paid program, what's the duration of the apprenticeship program, and what job categories are covered. So quite a list of, aspects of the Public Works Academy. So just, again, some interest in finding out a little bit more about that.
So one of the things I talked about was our apprenticeship program, and that's where we have the 7 trades, and those apprentices come out with, like the plant operators license. All of our trades are registered with the Virginia Department of Labor, and it's an official apprenticeship program. So that is licensed, and that's the background, and I sort of described the academic requirements as well as the on-the-job skills training that we do formally with that program. So the Hampton Roads Public Works Academy is more of a regional partnership with vocational school systems that, I think was created, from that group. So I'm going to turn it over to Darissa to describe that a little bit more. There are, many different trades that come from each of the vocational schools into the cadet program, but the cadet program is going to focus on public works utility jobs. So, Darissa, you have anything to add? Some of those jobs would be the jobs that we do here that we've described as part of our apprenticeship, and then some of the public works and utility jobs in water and wastewater and public works.
So Hampton Roads Public Works Academy, as Paula mentioned, it's a regional coalition, and it's made up of members from local municipalities, HRSD, and there is an annual membership fee, and it depends on how many employees your organization has. They have an executive director, which is Leanne Azar, and the member organizations meet on a monthly basis. For the past year, they've been meeting here at HRSD, and so then that's when they come up, what type come up with what type of low-cost training they could provide to the employees that are in these member organizations, also setting the curriculum and the tone for the cadet program, and just exchange of resources and ideas amongst the members.
And what we could do, we have our emails up on the slide, and so if you have some specific questions, you need more information, we could, probably get you in contact with the program director.
Great. Paula, thank you. And again, thanks to the other members of your team on that. Several more questions have rolled through, so let me continue. Question came in, have you followed previous interns throughout their careers, and are any of your interns placed elsewhere nationwide, for example? So again, just an interest in, what you know about previous interns and where they've gone to.
So HRSD doesn't formally do any tracking of the interns if we don't hire them in a part-time or full-time capacity or bring them back for another summer. But I actually keep in contact with a lot of the interns through Facebook, via email. And I know that some of them have gone off to the military, some have gone to work for the Newport News shipyard, and one of them just moved to Chicago with family because she got married. So, but the schools probably do more of the tracking of what happens to the interns once they graduate.
And some go on to college
yes.
also.
Yes.
Yeah, good. So another question, can someone please speak to the hiring process, transition from intern to employee? Are interns given preference, or is there a mechanism in place to ensure that they are not looked over for jobs that they qualify for? So again, just looking about, what is that transition from intern to employee, and what kind of preferences or not might be in place for that transition?
So many of our interns, may do their summer internship and be able to go into sort of a year-round part-time capacity. And I know in HR, we actually have a Public Works Academy interns and in OD&T as well. And in both cases, those interns, one went on to college and one stayed on year-round, and then the one that went to college, she's now back year-round as a part-time employees. So we were able to convert those into those positions. But then many of the interns, when they're in these part-time positions, or even if they just complete their summer internship, they will go into the applicant pool for our full-time positions and be interviewed and, often selected because, they've been at the work center, they've, really proven themselves. They have some work experience at this point, so it actually, gives them somewhat of an advantage in all cases, I would say, when it's been successful. And Mike, I think, has had a similar experience where you've hired year-round part-time, and then eventually they were selected for full-time positions.
So yes, if they have been, highly successful, we will keep them on in a part-time capacity while they're looking for full-time employment, because we do have to have a vacancy, and we will keep them until they're able to be selected for a full-time position.
Great, thank you. Next question, there's interest in your tuition assistance education reimbursement program. Interested to know what your annual allotment is for full-time employees, and interest to know the difference in the benefit between the intern and apprenticeship employees.
What was the last part of that question again?
An interest to know if the benefit is different between the intern or the apprenticeship employees?
Okay. So HRSD's continuing education reimbursement program, it is 100% tuition. We do, cap it at the highest in-state Virginia school tuition because some people are going to private schools, so it is capped at, and we do a survey every year to determine that, and it'd be either for undergraduate or graduate. All full-time employees are eligible to receive that benefit, and part-time employees after a year of an employment. And then we have some categories of part-time employees are here that they're already in school, and they're eligible for graduate level tuition reimbursement. So it just depends on the seasonal summer interns are not eligible for tuition reimbursement, but if they were to convert to part-time and stay here for some time, they could be eligible as well, and certainly if they get a full-time position.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, was there something else that someone wanted to add?
I think I covered it.
And also, I just wanted to add, this is Jerissa, that once you're past your 6-month probationary period, HRSD will prepay your tuition in advance for you, so you don't have to wait to be reimbursed, which is nice.
And and you have to earn a C or better, or a B or better in graduate school. Yeah.
Got it. Great, thank you. More questions here. So you've definitely prompted a lot of interest here. So the next question is the evening hours education. Question is, were the employees compensated for the hours that they attend school? And if not, how did you get around Department of Labor? So again, I guess, concern about some kind of Department of Labor requirements that might be associated with evening education activity.
So I don't know that I can fully answer this, but if you're hired into an apprenticeship position, it's a requirement of your job, and we don't pay for time for any education after hours. So no, they're not paid for the hours that they're in apprenticeship school. However, their rate of pay and their compensation is based on, being in that type of position. Like their pay is based on, a pay for a plant operator. So they're paid very well, their compensation, and we benchmark that, across the country, but we do not pay for the hours in school. And we're registered with Virginia Department of Labor, and, it's approved our approach. Now, the on-the-job skills training, that is paid. And there are some classes, I talked about this, they're called day-intensive training classes, and they will be paid, if they're brought from their work center for those day-intensive. They usually last 3 or 4 days or something like that. They would be paid for those classes and paid for mileage. So yeah, we are approved for all of this.
Great, thank you. So we've got a couple more questions, but before we do that, we're going to do a quick poll. So I'm going to turn things over to Heather for the polling. And then we'll come back and we've got 2 or 3 more questions that we'll look to do before wrapping up. So poll is currently up, asking you to respond to, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best score and 1 being the worst. How would you rate today's webinar, keeping in mind that we still do have 2 or 3 questions yet to cover?
And I'll leave this up for about a minute, and then I'll close it and we can move on. thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and we will move on to a few more questions.
Right. Although, just compliments to the presenters today. The polling there was very, very positive. So thanks very much. Okay. So a couple more questions we'll cover here before we move to wrap up. Again, so Paul, I'll direct to you, and then again, please feel free to move these around to other members of your team. So a question here about is HRSD a union organization, and if so, how receptive are the unions to the intern program? And then what do you have to do to make sure you are in compliance with union requirements in administering this program?
We are not a union organization, so we haven't had any challenges with that, or so sorry.
Got it. Okay. All right. So just one last question, and this is, in some sense, this is the big ask. We have a question that is, how can I duplicate this at my utility agency? So I guess what I would suggest on that, given that that's a very big question, given the kind of the complexity of your program, and so I'm going to take a little liberty here and maybe rephrase it slightly to say something like, if you were starting the program you now have today, what are the initial steps that you would take based on the lessons learned that you have?
Well, I'm going to start, and then I'm going to let Darissa and maybe everybody say a little bit of something. But remember, we started with one intern, and Anita was our first intern. And each year, it built, and we have I think every great cause needs a champion, and Darissa has been this champion in this case, and continued to put quite a bit of energy behind it. And then I think as the organization began to see, wow, this is really, we've had so many benefits, from this that I don't think we ever realized that we would, and that you have to keep that out there in front of, the leadership so it'll continue to be supported. So that would be my thing. Have a program champion. It does take some energy, enthusiasm, engagement, and Darissa's been that person for us. So, and it's grown quite a bit. So, Darissa.
I would just say relationship building. I mean, since the partnership has been for, 12 years, I have a very great, close working relationship with the local public schools. And they know that if there's anything that they need, whether it's for me to rewrite all the interview questions for the cadet program or for the internship, they need me to come do a presentation, or get our past interns to come and give presentations, or come at night to give presentations to parents. Just the relationship, the partnership, helping to develop curriculum that's going to be taught in the cadet program. And just a lot of it has been my intuition. It's been helpful for me to get involved in the process early, which is from the selection of the cadets, and then teaching my subject matter expert class throughout the year. I kind of get a feel for which students would be the right, that would add value to HRSD. So I think that's it.
Mike, you want to add anything?
No, I agree. I agree that the organization needs a champion, and then that champion needs champions. And so,
yeah.
and that's what has happened here. That we support the organization, we support Darissa. We've seen the value of it, and so I've gone myself from one intern a year to 3 a year. So it really is growing and spreading throughout the organization, but you do have to have those people in place that promote it and champion it. Yes, I agree.
And so I think you just start, because we only had one intern, and start small. Start with something you can do and you can handle, and build and improve it. And you see that everything we talked about was we are improving this program every year. And we've had lessons learned. We've had a couple, not very many. We had 98% completion, so that's great. Where we've had to end the internship and, back up a little bit and take a look at what, we need to do different. So there's just that continuous improvement. Start small, find a school system, who's willing to listen and you can get in front of, and they'll let you get in front of students and talk about water and careers, and I think that's where you start. You want to add anything?
Just support your success stories as well. Word of mouth by students. I know my daughter's 14 right now. She's thinking she don't go to college. She's come to work for one of us. So, and I've been here, like I said, 12 years. So if you support the success stories and get those kids out there in front of them, like us, me and Keegan, just out there telling our stories like we are doing now, you get more traction.
Okay. Is that?
All right. Well, thank you. So we've got one more poll, and then we'll move to close things out with Jim Horn. So, Heather, you want to pull up the poll? Great.
Yeah, so this poll, rather than an actual poll, we just wanted to see if any of you have thoughts for topics you'd like to see covered in future webinars. No requirement to fill this out, but if you do have any thoughts or requests, please use the Q&A function, the red box below, and just the sentence, statement, topic that we can review after and hopefully cover in future webinars. So thanks so much, and I will leave, I'll just leave this open and you guys can submit any ideas, and I will hand it over to Jim Horn for some closing remarks. Jim, are you still there?
Yes, hi. This is Jim Horn. Again, thank you very much. I listened very carefully. This is the second time I've heard the presentation, and I thank everybody for listening, and really fine questions. I appreciate it, the kinds of, sort of very practical questions that we like to get. I just want to thank Paula and her team, and I really appreciate, this is kind of the top to bottom approach from the people like Paula, who are almost really up at the executive or program manager level, all the way down to the people that have been through the program themselves and can give you kind of a real-world perspective on how it's worked for them. So, again, I just appreciate the time that you've all been able to spend with us. I hope those on the webinar were informed and encouraged by what these folks have done. And again, thank you. We will be doing several more of these webinars over the next year. And everyone that registered for this webinar will automatically get an invitation to the upcoming webinars for you to sign on to if you'd like to. So again, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day and the rest of your week, and take care. Thank you.